you could be the best tactician in the world, but unless you've got the personality that makes the players want to play for you and feel like they can come to you on a good day, a bad day, I think that is the one thing that separates good coaches from amazing coaches.
I'm really passionate about netball.
Hello and welcome to Here If You Need, your new netball podcast where we're really passionate about netball. My name is Emily Wilson, and alongside me, she used to warm up her team by kicking footballs into their faces to get their eyes.
Who is your source?
I can't tell you.
Right, listen, it never landed in their face, but it's just to warm up your hands, you know? If you've never hit a netball on the half volley in the changing room, like sweetly, then you've not lived.
Did it work?
I'd say so. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure we dropped plenty of balls around the court, but maybe we'd have dropped more had I not volleyed it into their face before the game. We'll never know. Also, a fun fact about you, Emily, is that you've shaved your head before. I just found that out.
Yeah, that was for charity. I raised £5,000.
Okay.
And I think I discovered that I never need to run a marathon. I just need to shave my head,
Fair
which
enough.
is much easier.
Now I feel bad. Now I feel guilty. So thank you for that.
No, look, it was during COVID, and I said it as a joke, and then people started saying they'd give me money to do it, and so I did it. I actually look pretty good, to be fair.
You've got a far better bone structure for it than I have. I just can't even. Yeah.
But I have a massive head, and it turns out a lot of that was just hair. Right, so we had a whole episode planned out for today, and then about an hour and a half ago, England Netball released a tiny little statement that said that Jess Thirlby, current ex-England head coach now, has resigned. So we're going to talk about that, and hey, who knows how this pod's going to go because we don't really have anything planned. So, what was your immediate reaction, Nia?
Immediate reaction was, why now?
Yeah.
Because we've spoken on other episodes about there being growing pressure on Jess in that role from a lot of Rose's fans. However, I'm pretty sure on a couple of podcasts ago, I said to you as an England fan, who would you get now? You've got no more matches, no more international tests, no more camps or training before you head to Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games. So it's really no time for a new coach to come in and embed their ideas and get to know the group and then to pick a squad. So the timing of it is weird, but that also makes me kind of sad because there is a lots of personal bits in that statement that Jess has provided. You know, she talks about still grieving the loss of her father shortly before they went to the World Cup in Cape Town, feeling like she didn't properly grieve in that time and that she prioritized the roses over maybe her grief process. So there's real sentimentality in the statement, and you know, we're not a sport like men's football where we're calling for people's heads and we're super happy when that happens. You know, netball is a small community and many people know Jess, like Jess, love Jess as a player and as a coach. And if you look at some of the things she achieved, she has to go down as an historic coach who got you to your first ever World Cup final. You picked up the silver medal. So that will always be remembered. That will always now be the benchmark for any England team going forward. But I think I would hate for it to have come to Jess from some of the things that she's maybe read online or heard online. I would hate for that to be the factor. And I also question what's going on at England Netball in general. Like, who above her, Dave Parsons, as head of performance? Like, what's his role in all of this? What's his viewpoint? Obviously, the contingency plan hasn't really been thought out because Anna Stenbridge, former head coach, who was removed from that role, has now been shifted up. So it feels like a very last minute decision, and it feels like a let's just get across the line at Com Games and then plan ahead. So I think for me as a player, I'm trying to think, how would I respond as a player? It depends, right? Because there'll be people always, every head coach will tell you this, there'll be people who like Jess. And it's the people who are playing or the people that are in the leadership group who probably really align well with Jess that'll be really sad by this news and rocked by this news. And then there'll be players on the fringe who usually are on the bench or haven't been selected who might be thinking, yes, I'm more excited for camp now, or I might be in with a shout of selection now. So it will be individual player to player. And I think it's important that they are equally supported. However, yeah, some players will be really excited to go into camp now with her not there. Some not so much because they'll miss her. Others will just be thinking, well, your assistant coach has the same ideas and same background as you, so nothing much is
Yeah.
going to change prior to Com Games. Why did we even bother making the change? So, again, it'd be great to have access to somebody from England Netball in some sort of press conference where we can really get some answers. Maybe get Fran Connolly, the CEO, on Sky Netball next time in the studio to answer some questions, similar to what the Welsh Rugby Union have been doing. They've been getting board members in and asking tough questions from the pundits and presenters. So, yeah, let's see if England Netball learn anything from that sort of transparency point of view. You as a Roses fan, how do you feel about it?
I'm very conflicted because I just think the timing is odd, and I it looks like Jess has walked away from the statements, and that, as you said, shows you that she can't have been happy, because you wouldn't just walk away from just 3 months out from a Commonwealth Games unless you just didn't think you could handle it. And part of me thinks, well, if her mind wasn't really there, and maybe that's why some of those weird decisions happened with the South Africa tour, like in terms of the playing members, who was starting, who was coming on, then maybe that's a good thing that she's not there. But I kind of wish that she'd sort of played the Commonwealth Games, sort of accepted that this is the squad that she's gone with, she's been training for the last 2 years, and made a real go of it. And then, hey, look, after the Com Games, it's a whole nother thing. It's like you've got a year till the World Cup. This way, you don't really get a chance to see anyone else give it a real shot.
Yeah.
So I wish this decision had either been made in September, before this international window, or after the Com Games. Wherever it's come from, it's a bit annoying, really.
From experience, the only thing I can relate it to is when we had quite a successful Commonwealth Games with Wales in 2022 in Birmingham. And then we get to 3 weeks later, which is mentally and physically tough, because you've worked really hard to peak for this Commonwealth Games. You're dying for some sort of like mental and physical break, and we had to go straight back in and try and qualify for the World Cup in Cape Town the following year. And that little tournament was up in Glasgow, and it was literally 3 weeks after the Com Games. So we also had a couple of players depart that squad, which was less than ideal. Betsy Creek, who'd been our starting goal attack for the whole of the Commonwealth Games, decided not to trial and help out with those World Cup qualifiers. So you can imagine me as captain of the group. We've lost our starting goal attack. We haven't had a chance to train up anybody else. And then what happened after we qualified, so we won 5 from 5 matches there, our captain, Susie Drain, retired, and our head coach, Sarah Moore, stopped being the head coach and focused on being head of performance. And I remember being like, oh my God, we're 6 months out from the World Cup and we've just lost. Well, we're still without our goal attack. She's not coming back. Our captain has left, like our most capped player ever. And now our head coach has left, and we're out for advert. And somebody ended up getting appointed, Emily Handyside, who I think she'd done one technical session, maybe as a guest coach, but that was it. So no time at all really to work together, to establish like ways of working, even stuff like the way that they run the team meeting, or how they schedule a day on camp, or what the bench hygiene is like. Where do you want us to stand? How do you want us to feedback? Do we talk together first, or do we listen to you? All that stuff. Trust me, when pressure is on and cameras are on you and you need to win, like England need to win, all that stuff takes time. So it's a good thing, I suppose, in that sense, that Anna is just stepping in, because she is familiar with the players. She knows what they've been through. But hopefully as well, on the back of Jess departing, there have been some really hard, honest conversations with the senior leadership team, maybe with the playing leadership team, about what the players need now. What they maybe didn't like under the Jess regime, maybe what they want to keep under the Jess regime, and implement that. She will also have some regrets probably from her time with England previously. She's been there and done it. And she's probably lied awake at night and thought, if I was to have the job again, what would I do differently? So let's not judge her based on what she's achieved previously. Anna is an outstanding coach, and I can say that from experience. I've had technical sessions with her that have been some of the best that I've experienced. Her attention to detail and her netball knowledge is world class. But there's an intensity to Anna that is quite similar to Jess, that maybe isn't for everyone either. She is also Welsh. Did people know this? She is a former Welsh international. So, yeah, I think, again, as England fans, and you are fans and supporters, the best thing to do is to try and get behind the players and the leadership team now, because what they need is that support.
I will say that they've cited that Joe Harton and Shani Layton are still going to be there. So maybe that shift, because they seem like they're probably a bit more fun than, say, Jess and Anna, that might give a bit more balance towards that way. Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
There's been a lot of technical help and assistant coaches, hasn't there? Like, we had a little look just prior to jumping on this. Literally, this only broke an hour ago. But since Jess took over, and by the way, what a tough act to follow in what Tracy Neville achieved. That gold at the Commonwealth Games in 2018, with, I think, 6 players that were playing at the peak of their powers in the SSN, picked up Team of the Year at the BBC Sports Personality Awards. If you look at any sport, any team sport, it's secular. And when you reach a peak, it tends to have to start again and revamp. So whoever was going to come in after that was always going to have a really tough act to follow. In Jess's time, though, in the past 6.5 years that she's been in post, we've had Sonia McCloma involved next to her. All of these are either technical assistants or assistant coaches. Liana Leota, Liv Murphy, Sam Bird, Joe Harton, Serena Guthrie came in for a little period, maybe just as a cultural piece. Anna Stembridge, as we know, Shani Layton as well. So I think for me, it's great to sometimes have, especially ex-players like Serena Guthrie, she's a mentality monster and she's been there and done it, and having her presence in camp would be hugely valuable. But for me, I would want some stability and consistency in my head coach and assistant coach. Or if you're England, you can probably afford the luxury of a third coach. So whether that's an attacking specialist and a defensive specialist, I think there needs to be more consistency in there for them. And yeah, if they can't go on every single tour as head coach, maybe they need to go on less tours, because the head coach should be at every game.
Yeah, because she definitely hasn't been on all the tours. There was definitely a couple of New Zealand ones where she left it up to some other people. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. It was Liana Leota, actually. I did remember then, because she was in New Zealand against New Zealand. So Liana Leota took charge of one. Yeah, I wouldn't have ever raised eyebrows at having a lot of assistant coaches, because I would have thought that would have been nice to get different people's input as a player. But I mean, I'm not a player, so I don't know if that looks like it's unstable. Yeah, I would have thought it was a good thing. I feel like they've sort of come in and out rather than being sort of fired and then never seen again.
Yeah.
Like Joe Hart come on some tours and not on others. Yeah, so I wouldn't have said that was necessarily a negative thing, which I felt like you did think it was. More of.
I think they've all got invaluable netball knowledge. From my perspective as a player, I can't imagine going on, say, 6 different tours one year and having 2 or 3 different coaches supporting my head coach in all of those. I think there needs to be a clear way that they want to play, and it's been something that's been spoken about previously, in that, how the Diamonds are going to play. They're going to be absolutely relentless one-on-one defense. They're not going to shoot from far. They're going to work it to circle edge. They're going to be fitter than any other team and going to be able to work it phase after phase after phase. And then the New Zealanders, obviously, they're going to also be super fit. That is a common denominator, but also they're going to play that off-body style, zonal shape. They're probably going to have a little bit more flair with the way that they feed the circle. Obviously, Wecky adds a little bit of something different to that. But England have always, I'm not really sure if I were to grow up and be an England netball player, what do you want from me? With Liana coming in, she's obviously going to come in with an ex-Silver Ferns brain and probably be more into that zonal off-body market. And if you brought in Shani Layton from the Aussies, what is she then bringing? So my worry would be, as a player, is there mixed messages from camp to camp or from year to year that's not going to help you over a 4-year cycle?
So I've always wondered about this, right? Because it's not like the Diamonds can't go into a zone, and they do sometimes go into a zone, and it's not like New Zealand don't play one-on-one. Yeah. Why are we so obsessed with saying this is who New Zealand are and this is who Australia are? Who is South Africa? Who are England? It's basically those are the only teams. Who is Jamaica? Jamaica's just got individual flair, but they also work together as a team. Like, how important is that identity piece? Because ultimately you just want to win, and by winning you do need to switch tactics in the middle of a game often, and they do.
Right.
I've always questioned this obsession that we have with going, you know what you're going to get with the Diamonds and it's different to the New Zealanders. Well, yes, but how important is that?
I think it's important. Like, I don't think people realise probably, or definitely new eyes on the game, how structured everything is. Like, every single back line, every sideline, and it's different if it's high up in the third or low down in the third. It might be, you might have a different tactic in the first 5 minutes of what you do on through court defence compared to the last 5 minutes on through court defence. Like, there is now a structure, tactic, name for everything. And that's not to say that obviously you don't have to play yourself out of scenarios and where plan A might want to go and it's shut off. But most teams now, top teams, will also have a very scripted plan B, C, and D as well. And I think it's important for any player moving into the environment that they understand those structures. I think if I think to the NSL, one of the best structured teams probably are the ones at the top of the table, your Loughborough Lightnings and your Manchester Thunder. And if you speak, we spoke to Sam Bird on the pod last week, she has her under 17s at Pulse playing the same way. And what she means by that is structurally and performance targets and probably fitness targets as what she wants her senior athletes playing. Do England have that consistency all the way through their pathway into their senior team on every single tour? I'm not sure. I'm not saying that you only have to be a zonal team and a man-to-man team. That's not it. But I do think it's important that if I am a future Rose, I know what's expected of me, physically, tactically, technically.
It's also interesting hearing about Tracy Neville and how she sort of handled the sort of man management, woman management of the team on her podcast. You do get the feeling that she would sort of live and die for the players in a really hardcore way, which made the players feel appreciated and loved. And I'm not sure we necessarily got that same vibe from Jess.
You could be the best tactician in the world, but unless you've got the personality that makes the players want to play for you and feel like they can come to you on a good day, a bad day, come to you for harsh feedback, good feedback, unless you've got that personality that I don't necessarily think you can learn, I think that is the one thing that separates good coaches from amazing coaches. And that's just from my personal experience. It's that human piece, that personality piece that they need to make sure that the next person in that role has that. They have a bit of charisma, they've got confidence, they've obviously got elite level netball knowledge, but they've got like world class people management skills. That is what England need to prioritize.
And media skills, I would say.
Yeah.
Because I think Jess lost a lot of fans from her, the way that she handled the press and not answering questions or answering them with a very sort of rubbish, fake answer. That's where I think a lot of England fans found her quite frustrating.
But then I think probably she was her boss's dream. You know, very political answer, something that you'd see in 10 Downing Street or on Question Time, where she's very articulate, she's very eloquent, she can make you forget what question you've asked because she goes on such a long explanation about something that's related but not quite answering your question. So probably in tough moments when she's lost a game that she shouldn't, she's her boss's dream because she's just sort of deflecting. And on Sky Netball, we're being told 30 seconds with Jess, so we've not got much time to press. But again, it goes back to, we can complain all we want about lack of access to coaches. It's England Netball not putting on press conferences. It's not Jess saying, no, I'm not doing any. You know, in the Premier League, it's written into their contracts that they have to come out and do a presser before the game and come and talk to us after the game. There's nothing really in that in netball. So that's maybe something that if we want more access as fans, we want to keep growing the sport, we need to put those written into things so we can have that access.
Were you speaking from experience then when you were saying that you asked her a question and okay.
Yeah, but literally we had 2 minutes with her. It was post their series against New Zealand towards the end of last year that they ended up losing 2-1. I think I tried to ask why maybe she'd brought why she hadn't brought Liv Cheen back on. And I think she left Sasha Glasgow out there, maybe Elle Cardwell. And I didn't ask
Yeah.
it as plainly as that, so maybe that's my fault for not being more direct with it. But I sort of said, like, you made your changes. Were you happy with the impact they had, or, was it the wrong changes, basically? And I can't even tell you how she answered, and then I was told to shut up. So, yeah.
Very frustrating. Those are the questions we all wanted to know, I think, as England fans, is why have you made this change during a game when it just seems so obvious that to everyone else that it shouldn't happen.
Yeah, and
Literally,
again, sorry,
back
I'm
on
harping
was
on,
obvious.
but she might turn around to us then and say, she's been ill all week, or
Yeah.
she swore at my assistant coach on the bench, or she's got an
Yeah.
ankle injury you've got no idea about, she's on managed minutes. Like, that would have actually probably helped the coaching staff out more, were they allowed to actually say a couple of those things.
Yeah, 100% agree. We just wanted an answer or reasoning. But at the same time, Jess has been pretty successful. We do have to give her the credits. Like, I've got her record, which has been thrown together very last minute and isn't necessarily 100% correct because we don't have that kind of information in netball, which itself is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
If this was a football manager that got fired, we'd know all the winning percentage right now.
Yeah.
But since the 2023 World Cup, she has got 36 total matches, 19 wins, 16 losses and 1 draw, which was to Jamaica. Now obviously there's a bit that, so 52% win record is what we've got here, but like a lot of those are a bit deceptive. We've got the recent Jamaica tour where we won 2-0 and really shouldn't have been a game. Like, it wasn't a game. They did not have half their players here. There's 2 wins in that versus Uganda, who's a team that you'd expect to be beating all the time. So it's not, we've only got 1 win against Australia since the World Cup, but then that was also in Australia. So that was the first time, I think, was it the first time ever, or was it the first time in a long time that we'd beaten Australia in Australia?
Yeah, well, we beat them what have you done to me here? You beat them in the Commonwealth Games final in 2018 on Aussie soil, so it can't be the first time, but
I think other than that, it
okay.
was the only time, maybe. Yeah, that's a good point.
Remember that match? Stop going on about.
One final question on this, which has been the main comment discussion that I've seen so far online on my personal Teams chat or on our socials, which is
you don't use Teams for leisure and pleasure, do you?
No, like
oh, sorry, your actual netball Teams. I'm thinking, have you never heard of WhatsApp? Why are you using Microsoft Teams? Okay, I understand. Yeah, what's your group chat been saying?
My group chat has been, will Liz Scholes get into the squad now?
Listen, we kicked off this podcast with a clip that you made of me talking about Liz Scholes. Now, Liz herself has asked us all to get her name out of her mouth, so I'm a little bit reluctant to keep talking about this. My point on that was what we've just said. We are judging players purely on what we see week in, week out in this division. What we're not privy to, clearly, is the whole selection criteria. How are they comparing to other athletes in their position from a stats perspective? That's some of the picture. It's not all of it. How are their fitness levels when you meet up on camp? They might be absolutely trawling behind everybody at the back and you're thinking they can't play 6 games in 10 days. They might be acting like absolute plebs when they're away on international duty and rubbing everybody up the wrong way. That is a massive issue, trust me, when you're away on camp if you've got somebody like that. So there's all these other factors that come into why a player isn't selected, and that is why we need more access to why you are picking and not picking other people. But probably Liz Scholes, if she's opened her app today, maybe she'll be happy. Don't know. I do think for the players, because I know it was a discussion where they were saying you haven't got much hope of getting into the Commonwealth Games team if you've not been part of her programme in the last sort of test series. I do think that blows it wide open now for players who haven't been involved in that. I do think that.
Interesting. I thought you were going to stick to your guns and say, nah, it's not going to change.
I wasn't involved in that conversation, and I actually agree that just because you're in that Roses program, I think is a very dangerous place to be if you get complacent and think, oh, she can only pick it from this, or I went on the last tour, so I'm definitely in with a bigger shot than that person. Like similar to your England football team, you should be picking the most informed players at the time.
Yeah. I think that. I thought you were on the other side.
I wasn't
thought you
involved
were
in the
like,
chat.
you
I was up in the comms box. I wasn't in the media.
No. I know you weren't involved in that
Oh.
specific chat, but all of the little chitty chats we've had since, you said last week, it gives everyone a good reason as to why you can't just pick anyone from the team and that you have to be in the environment.
What I mean is, obviously, you can't. It's hard to pluck a random person who you've never had in an England dress before.
Okay.
But I don't think just because you didn't play against South Africa that you can't go to the Con Games.
Okay, we heard it here, and that's Nia Jones's take. The skulls is going. Okay, well, we'll get round to what we were originally going to talk about and just do it in double quick time now. So, round 3. Overall takes from the round, and I will go first. I absolutely loved the broadcast from Sky on Saturday. They had Jenna Brooks. They had a presenter, they had 2 analysts, and they really lifted the whole day. Great. Why didn't they do this on the first match? Who knows? Maybe it's because of the pressure they felt from various podcasts.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take the assist if you want. But I don't think it's that.
I don't think it's that either. It was because it was a double header, probably. And the double header aspect of it, I also want to bring up because I thought that was a great idea, great atmosphere. Why not give people value for money? 2 games for the price of 1. And look, it looked great, didn't it? And on the screen, there was vibes, there was music, there was singing. It was really loud, so loud we couldn't actually necessarily hear what the analysts were saying, but I didn't mind that. I'm like, I want to see some atmosphere. However, we did get a message on our Instagram from a listener who said the hype and everything was great, but the venue clearly didn't buy into it. A quarter of the stands and bars and food outlets were open. Only a quarter of them were open. We queued for ages for food as they didn't open enough. They didn't open the coffee stands, the sweet stands, and 3/4 of the other outlets they had, and none of the outside stands were open. I go to the same arena to watch ice hockey, and every single stand is open. If, as a Loughborough fan, I'm travelling to an arena for a home game, I want to give the extra flair in the venue too. So,
Yeah,
that's a bit disappointing. Come on, venue, buy into it. We don't want to be queuing for ages.
Again, I just wonder how much of that comes down to cost. So I wonder how many tickets get sold for the ice hockey compared to what got sold for the netball. If it's the same, then there's absolutely no excuse. But my prediction is that there's certain packages, and if you want certain stands open and certain food stalls open, it's an extra cost because obviously you're having to staff it. So I just really wonder if maybe ticket sales were not quite there, and that's why we didn't have, or fans didn't have full access to it. But I think, to be honest, it's such an ambitious thing for clubs to have multiple arena games per season, and it'd be really great to have somebody on who's involved in that process of booking these, because I think they run at a loss when they do this, the clubs. But it's part of the quota of this new professional era of the league that you have to have a certain amount of games in big arenas that can cost, honestly, thousands and thousands and thousands before you've even sold one ticket. So maybe that's one for a future pod. But again, I just don't think our sport is quite there yet. It's not quite big enough yet, and we're trying to force it into these arenas a little bit too soon. Like, you watch Arsenal ladies. I know I keep making football comparisons, but it's the direct competitor as our number 1 female participated sport, isn't it? Arsenal women were playing at Boreham Wood, still do play at Boreham Wood, which holds a couple of thousand week on week on week. Even when they won the quadruple, they won the Champions League. It was only last season that they moved to the Emirates Arena and they can get 60,000 at a game. But if you watch any other club, they're playing in empty stadiums still, and that's women's football. That's a multi-million-pound project at the minute. So I know the saying is, what, build it and they will come.
It's the constant balance, isn't it, that we need the money, but to get the money you need the eyes, and to get the eyes you need the money. Like it's hard. They had 2,462 people there on Saturday, which is pretty good. And my source said she thinks it was about 3/4 as full as it was for the ice hockey. But again, if you're listening to this podcast and you like netball and you haven't been to see an NSL match, go and watch one live, because A, it's incredible. The physicality is awesome. The speed is awesome. You'll see things, you'll get better at netball. And B, you're supporting this endeavour that we're trying to create some noise around netball and get some more money into the sport.
I also think I kind of get sick of talking about the next generation a little bit, because I feel like that should be a byproduct of the good work that we're doing now. However, I don't think there's anything more inspiring for a young person than seeing live sport, if sport is what they're into. And I'm sure if you asked any netballer now who's playing at the top level, they'll be able to tell you the first time that they watched something like that and felt so inspired. I can remember going to watch Wales against South Africa, I think, in this tiny little sports hall up in North Wales, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing ever. And then I got an autograph off somebody. Like, that is the very reason why it's the reason why you see like pictures of somebody as a ball girl and then they go on to be an international player. So if you've got a young person in your life, related to you or not, that is into sport, definitely take them along, because you don't know what ambition that's creating.
Who was your autograph from?
Susie Drone.
Okay.
Who I later went on
Who
to
then
play with.
went on to play with.
Yeah, I was co-captain with her as well. But my overall favourite player was somebody called Billy Bowers, who older listeners will remember. Her actual name is Ursula Pritchard, and she was one of the first Welsh players to go down and play in New Zealand. She played for a team in Canterbury. She captained T Bath, won championships for them, and was Wales netball captain, and is from the area that I'm from. And she came and delivered a camp up north as well that I went to. I remember she was coaching how to do high knees, which I thought, like, they're just high knees, but now I get it. Like, you can do high knees or you can do high knees, you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you do high knees?
Like, it's an actual, like, it's a drill. It can make you better. Like 90 degrees, arms are going, quick off the floor, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the actual games, shall we? We're just going to be very quickly go through them, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so we'll start with Dragons Thunder. Nia, you were there commentating, because that's what you do on Friday nights when Dragons are playing at home.
Apparently. Yeah, I haven't actually got another netball gig for a good few weeks. All my football work was booked in before the netball work was booked in. So, yeah, I'm obviously very local to Cardiff, and Pam Cookie is, I think, Bristol based, which is why logistically it makes sense that we sometimes do Dragons games as opposed to me volunteering to do one in Leeds, for instance, which is why sometimes you hear the same commentators doing the same teams. It's probably because they're local to that area. It was a bit flat, and it was always going to be a struggle, I think, to emotionally for Dragons to get up to the same levels of performance and focus as they did against Pulse the previous week. And it was such a high, and the atmosphere in there was so electric. I always worried a little bit that they wouldn't be able to find that again 7 days later. And Thunder, as we predicted, are getting slowly better and better. What I liked about Thunder was how patient they were. And it's almost like they played everything on the second. So I think we always assume that, like, to be good, you play quick all the time. But actually, Thunder were actually clinical but composed in everything that they did. And they had faith in that their through-court defensive pressure would wear Dragons down in the end. And they'd end up coughing up turnover, which they did. And I think that is a massive part of how you stamp your authority on a match, is how you approach your through-court defence. And that is from shooter down. If you in the first 5 minutes can really assert yourself in that area, whatever your tactic is, whether you're off marking and creating doubt and confusion, or you're on the body forcing everybody wide and separate, that is when you can really set the tone for the match. And I know as a player, like, straight away you can feel like, whoa, these guys are up for it today if they're on you straight away. And I felt like Thunder were on it straight away. And that's another team I was just about to say, sorry. If you think about Thunder, Millie Carter, I've played with Millie for years, and she couldn't get a contract with Dragons. She was a training partner, but she wasn't offered a contract with Dragons. I'm not sure she was offered a next-gen contract. She's out there playing like Shamira Sterling at times for Thunder.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think that's what a good club and clear structures and good experienced players around you can do, which is why I think structures are so important.
Interesting. Okay. Anything else you want to bring up?
Lois Pearson played very well. Josie Huckle played very well. They were probably the two contenders for player of the match. Did you notice anything? Did you watch the match?
I did. I just wanted to highlight yet again Raina coming on late on and making a massive difference.
Yeah. One thing I will say is Chouani went off injured in the first 5 minutes for Dragon.
Oh yeah,
And
made a huge difference
yeah,
actually.
and it's almost like you didn't notice how effective she was being until she wasn't on anymore. And then you're asking Withington, who's relatively inexperienced, to move into centre for a whole game, Booth to move into wing defence for a whole game against Lois Pearson. So I did feel like Thunder were hitting the top of the circle way too easily, which for me as a centre wing defence, that is your pride and joy. That is the very place you should be keeping them away from. So yeah, something for them to build on in a must win pretty much for Dragons next week against Rhinos.
Have you heard anything more on an update from Chouani on that?
No, I believe she was getting a scan, which is good to hear, because sometimes in women's sports, they leave you for a few weeks to see if it gets better, and then they go, oh, maybe we should actually have a look internally at what's going on. So I heard she's getting a scan sorted nice and early, but I've not had any updates.
Okay, so she's out, unlikely to be playing this weekend, do you think?
No idea.
I don't know. You don't know with an ankle. The other person I want to highlight from Dragons actually was Beth Dyke. I thought she really, really stood out. That was the first time where I've sort of noticed her this season.
Well, it's funny because I don't know if you know how close I am to Beth.
Well, I saw you at the rugby with her.
I'm her bridesmaid. And you said on a pod a couple of weeks ago, Beth had a really quiet game, and I thought, whoa, she's going in. But this is a neutral pod, and if my friends play badly, I will also say it. But I did say afterwards, I'm not sure she knows quite how close we are. Yeah, we've been best friends for about 20 years. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but at the same time,
You're
said
not immune to criticism. I get it.
Yeah, but also I did say she didn't have her best game, but she was playing against Loughborough, and that defensive unit was ridiculous. But there were a couple. Anyway, fine. Anyway, I thought she was great on Friday, and
listen in, Beth. See,
I like you, Beth. Please,
please don't disinvite me from your wedding, Beth. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I thought she was great. You can see her just owning that attacking end and controlling it. Right, moving on. We will go on to Birmingham Mavs. Now, this was a bit of a blowout. Mavs won 75-49, and I've actually got quite a lot to say here. Most of my points were on Panthers, which is a bit weird for the losing team. But they got off to a great start. I thought they actually went up by 4 goals right at the beginning. And then it was like the Mavs defence end just switched on suddenly. It was during the super short time. They just sort of switched on. And from then on, it was never going to stop. Their defence was organised. It was beautiful. Raz Kosher was taking interceptions, and she looked like she had 10 seconds to get to the ball and catch it. And Panthers just couldn't break it. It was a zone. They were doing a diamond, and it was just it was beautiful. It was textbook stuff, I would say. I would say that for Panthers, that yet again Charlie Fiddler stood out. She had the grit, the determination. She wanted to get every ball. She was running after the ball, and I just loved that sort of drive from her. I've written here that Fapahunda looked a bit like a giraffe learning to walk in the circle, and I mean that with love.
I am not her bridesmaid, but do elaborate.
She has such long limbs. And she just sometimes doesn't know where her feet are. And look, I think when she does learn where her feet are and she sort of settles down, she's going to be a real force to be reckoned with, because she's got that instinct, and she's so tall that she is going to be a real problem for teams. But currently, I don't know why Coffee isn't starting. Maybe she's got a little bit of an injury. I wrote here on my notes, where's Coffee? Oh, there she is. So as I'd written it, she got subbed on.
That's like me in the morning. Anyway.
They were both up against Emma Thacker, who probably had the game of her life. She was outstanding, like beautiful. She showed me that she can play goal attack, because that was my question at the beginning of the season. And I will Matoro did the most incredible goal. You should see it on the highlights. She kind of caught it underhand off the court, then like managed to turn and shoot the ball where she was falling off court, and that's what we want to see from a Toro. And where has that been until now? So she did that in the last quarter, and yeah, I want to see that form continue, please, because she sort of had that flair that we were expecting.
It's funny because I've not seen that, and like a piece of skill like that should be everywhere, whether it's NSL, Sky, whoever is showing it, or Panthers themselves. Like, that should have been a viral clip that goes out there because, again, they're really cool things that can help our sport. Oh, I will say a shout out to the Mavs social media team. I think they've just got some really cool media stuff going on at the minute. If you have a look at their Instagram, they've obviously got a camera person at the matches filming some really cool angles, some really cool effects and music. And I just think it looks really modern and good.
Well, I also want to big up Panthers for that as well, because I went into a deep dive on Panthers last night on their Instagram, and they've got a really good videographer. Have a look at some of their social videos because they are very cool. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a video editor, so for me it was particularly exciting. What else have I got to say here? They put Pullen into goal attack. So they were obviously having issues breaking the zone. And it's the first time I've seen Pullen into goal attack. Apparently she played a lot there last year in Next Gen. And she was the person that broke the zone for them because no one else could. She was coming through and everyone else they were just getting stuck every time. So it worked. However, her shots weren't going in. And it was a really interesting move to see because, you just showed that quite a simple change can really make a difference. And once she gets those shots in on a regular basis, that will be a good change for them to have up their sleeve. I mean, Mavs just looked really good. They just went about their business. And Jess Thirlby, Freudian slip, Tamsin Greenway will be very pleased. Right. London Pulse versus Loughborough Lightning has to be the game of the round, and the final score was 68-61 to Loughborough. Ella Clark, she just shot her little socks off.
She probably got quite big socks, actually.
Yes, she probably does. She shot her big socks off. She came off in the third quarter, and that was when they dipped. I'd say that she, for me, was the game changer in this. London Pulse were always behind, but then they really had a great third quarter, came into the game, and then you thought the momentum was with them going into the last quarter. I think they were 1 goal down, having been maybe 12 at one point down, and yeah, I was like, Pulse have got this. They're coming back. But Loughborough just turned that switch. Ella Clark came back on and just drained super shot after super shot after super shot. And I think it was good for the league that Loughborough won that, because I think if they had capitulated in that final quarter, they would have lost confidence. And look, I think that might have been a sort of big mental shift for them in their big rivalry. So,
do you think it's fair to say Ella Clark is the most underrated player in the league?
I would have said that before this weekend, and I think I brought this up on our preview, how well I thought she did last year. But
you did in Sammy Wallace-Joseph's absence at goal shooter, yeah.
Yeah, but she, as of this weekend, is everyone saying she's underrated, which then I think means that it's a bit like that.
Yeah.
Chicken or egg thing. Chicken or egg? I don't know if that's correct.
Has there been a more consistent English shooter in our league over the last few years?
Well, a lot of our good English Liv Cheen. Most of our good English shooters go to Australia. Yeah. She also came back from that awful ACL injury that she got in the final of the Super Cup, Super League. So that's also a big hurdle to come over. The other big one I wanted to bring up here was Maseko. She was playing. I saw her
finally. You'd have thought that was a debut if I hadn't helped you out. Yeah.
She came on and she had a bit of a shaky start, I'd say. There were a few balls that she dropped or threw away, but she stayed on, and God, it was so exciting to see. She provides that different option in goal attack, and I would say that Sam Bird now has 9 players that can come in and out seamlessly. Tyler Orr also started over Gracie Smith, which I thought was interesting, and did a great job. She's got 9 players now that go in and out. We didn't see Darcy Everett, and I just don't think she's there yet to go in on those big moments.
No, and actually, it's I don't think we spoke about it much because Sam Bird had joined us. But if you actually look at when Dragons in round 2 launched their comeback, I think they were 9 down when Halima Adio left the court in the final quarter, and then Rowe was just having so much more joy against Darcy Everett that then allowed them to catch up, and then obviously the clock ran out. But yeah, I think she's a tremendous talent. I think she's still only 20, 21 maybe. But you're right. Adio is such a presence there, and obviously her relationship with Fumi is very developed.
Yeah. So look, I think there was a lot of positives for Pulse. They fought. It was up. They came back after that. I'd say it was a bit of a tough Cardiff result for them. They didn't think that they played well, and they came out here and almost got it back. I know the score looks like it was 7 goals, but it really did feel like it was right on the edge, right until the end. Yeah, I'm going to stop talking now and move it over to you, Nia. So it was Forest versus Leeds, and not to gloat, but I do think I predicted this one correctly last week.
You did. It's the first one that you've got in over me. Did you watch the game as well?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, no, I did watch it.
Yeah. The biggest one for me, and I want to trademark this, is I'm going to call them Pavlova. And I don't know why none of us have thought about this, but Pavlin and Pakova is Pavlova, and I love Pavlova.
Yep.
I don't know about you, because
I do after this weekend.
It's sweet, but it's also light. And do you know what I love is that those 2 players were the defensive unit when Bath had their final year in the Super League. And I don't think there was a million offers coming in for the pair of them, because obviously they'd finished as the wooden spooners and nobody was looking at the defensive end of Bath, who I think had conceded more than anybody else. But if you actually look at how talented they are, like, I'm so glad that they were snapped up by Nottingham Forest and just going from strength to strength. Retief looks like she's developing well as well. And we said, like, we hope that they use her maybe more than they did Kadondi, who I thought was a great signing for them when they first got her on board. But it was definitely that defensive pressure. And a couple of the plays that you watch, like, they're not even in shot. They're not even in shot. But Leeds were like sitting ducks at time, pretty naive, not taking feet to the ball. And you just can't do that against players like Pavlin or Pakova. So obviously, if they're getting that level of turnover, they're always going to be clinical down the other end with Strutka. Again, no real update on Rhea Dixon. She's been missing for the last 2 weeks. Anya Williams was back in, but they also had Lily Smith come in for Nottingham Forest debut, who played a little bit, but still definitely. Can you imagine if Nottingham Forest had, I don't want to steal it from another team, had Niamh McCall in at goal attack, or had Ella Clark in at goal attack? They would be serious title contenders. So that is still the area for me that's going to be the make or break between getting top 4 or not.
That was my main takeaway from this, actually, was Anya Williams had such a good match last weekend, and then she came into this and she just looked a bit lackluster. She was getting frustrated with Fissa being on her the whole time. She was sort of thinking that she was free and then getting annoyed that she wasn't getting the ball, even though she wasn't free. And look, she didn't look good for me. And they had Lily Smith. I think she came on the beginning of the second quarter, and she stayed on for the rest of the match. And she was so impressive for me. She changed the game, because it was scrappy until then. It was pretty even, and Lily Smith was just creating space for Strutka. She was playing as like an out-and-out goal attack, which is what I think, as you said, they're missing. I thought that just shows the strength of the Next Gen League. Obviously, she must have been training with the squad for the last 2 weeks, but you know, they've clearly got their systems in place where they've got that structure and they know what they're coming into. She looked great. And if we had the 11th player that they have in SSN, which I think is something that we should think about bringing in, that would be the perfect opportunity for Forest to have that sort of goal attack switching.
The only other thing, obviously, that kind of overshadowed Leeds' bad day, made it even worse, was obviously they lost Jazz Brown. And I think shout out to the broadcasters for not showing us the injury. I, for one, absolutely hate watching slow-mos of somebody getting injured. So it actually panned away. I didn't see how it occurred, but looks like foot, ankle, Achilles, not sure. But the fact that she was wheelchaired off is not good, because netballers roll their ankles all the time and you can still limp off or hop off if you need to. So we haven't had an update as of yet, Tuesday afternoon, on that, but that would be a massive loss. Like,
yeah, huge.
Obviously it's a massive loss, but it's just in context of like, who do you get in now at this stage of the season to replace an international goalkeeper? They're just not out there. They're already tied up in teams. So a club like Leeds, who lost Mavula so late up the other end, if they now lose Jazz for even just a few weeks, it could see them camping out towards the bottom of the table.
Yeah. Someone likened them to Thunderbirds of old on Twitter, on X, and I love it. I completely see it. The flair they have in defense, even with Yomi Wilson, who came in and looked great as well, especially under those circumstances. I thought, coming in when you've seen your friend go off like that is not easy, and they just have all this flair, and then they just throw it away halfway down the court, and they've got the players there, and you just need to click. And if they had Mvula, you just it's like what you said at the beginning of the season, that she's going to make a massive difference. It's almost like, netball, Nia.
I'm just winging it.
Who knew?
I'm winging it.
Next bit of competition, much more importantly, is our league predictions, Nia, and I'm pleased to say I've made a point back, and you're out now only in the lead by 1 point. So, it's 11-10.
Fine.
Just need to break that centre pass. Okay, we'll start off with Rhinos versus Dragons, 7 p.m. on Friday. Go.
I think if Jazz Brown is now not playing, I think Dragons will get the win. But Dragons shooters have to play well, and by shooters, I mean all of them, not just the Scottish Thistle. They haven't quite nailed like how they're interchanging, who started the game, how is somebody coming on and aiding Niamh McCall in there, whose level of performance has been consistent. It's still an area for improvement, but with Jazz Brown not there, it'll be a heck of a lot easier. You?
Look, I want to go with Dragons, but I feel like I should go with Rhinos to try and get that point back, because I don't think we're going to have a point of difference. So I'm going to go Rhinos.
Don't say that while you're doing it. If you want to say that Rhino's going to win, you just say it. There'll be other games where you can make it.
Head versus heart. It's head versus heart.
So
I'm going to go Rhinos.
Before
we'll go Rhinos.
About Jazz Brown, who were you going to say?
Rhinos.
Yeah.
No, Dragons.
Oh.
No, look, okay, this is what I'm thinking. My head is like, Dragons should win based on the performances so far.
Yeah.
However, Rhinos are at home. They've got so much flair.
The Rhinos have about 5 homes.
I thought they've moved, their home is now in Sheffield, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought they had now a permanent home in Sheffield.
We played in Leeds, we played in Sheffield, we played... Like that is
I thought they'd got a bit more of a permanent home now, but it's in Sheffield.
Okay.
Which is only 45 minutes away from Leeds. Who knew?
Yeah, real home advantage.
But look, I just think Leeds have all the ingredients to be really, really good, and 1 week they're gonna click, even without Jazz Brown. And that could be this week. So I'm going for them. Okay. Rhinos.
And then can I guess that we're all in agreement then that Thunder are going to beat Panthers?
I think Thunder are going to beat Panthers. Lightning are going to beat Mavs. And I think Pulse are going to beat Forest.
I agree.
And that's a Sunday treble, for those of you wondering. 3 p.m, 4 p.m, and 6 p.m. on a Sunday.
After church, that's a very busy day.
That's it. That's all we've had time for. It's been an hour still, so, not the shortest episode. And sorry if it's been a bit of a car crash, but hey, we're doing things off the cuff this week. We will be back next week, and we will see you then. Bye.
I'm really passionate about netball.